नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। गुकारस्त्वन्धकारो वै ऋकारस्त्वन्निवर्तकः अन्धकारनिरोधित्वात् गुरुरित्यभिधीयते। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। So as I recall, I think that we wanted to practice a little bit more because we were a little bit out of sync. So let's do that a couple of more times. Please follow me. Mauna Vyakhya Prakatita Parabrahma Tattvam Yuvanam. Mauna Vyakhya Prakatita Parabrahma Tattvam Yuvanam. Varshishthante Vasat Rishiganai Avritam Brahmanishthai. Varshishthante Vasat Rishiganai Avritam Brahmanishthai. Acharyendram Karakalita Chinmudram Anandarupam. Acharyendram Karakalita Chinmudram Anandarupam. Swatma Ramam Mudita Vadanam Dakshinamurtimide. Swatma Ramam Mudita Vadanam Dakshinamurtimide. Vatavitapi samipe bhumi bhage nishannam. Vatavitapi samipe bhumi bhage nishannam. Sakala muni jananam jnanadataramarat. Sakala muni janana jnanadataramarat. Tribhuvana gurumisham dakshinamurti devam. Tribhuvana gurumisham dakshinamurti devam. Janana marana dukkha cheda daksham namami. Janana marana dukkha cheda daksham namami. Chitram vatataror mule vriddha shishya gurur yuva. Chitram vatataror mule vriddha shishya gurur yuva. Gurostu maunam vyakhyanam shishyastu chinna samshayaha. Gurostu maunam vyakhyanam shishyastu chinna samshayaha. Nidhaye sarva vidyanam bhishaje bhavaroginam. Nidhaye sarva vidyanam bhishaje bhavaroginam. Gurave sarvalokanam dakshinamurtaye namaha. Gurave sarvalokanam dakshinamurtaye namaha. Om namah pranavarthaya shuddha jnanaikamurtaye. Om namah pranavarthaya shuddha jnanaikamurtaye. Nirmalaya prashantaya dakshinamurtaye namaha. Nirmalaya prashantaya dakshinamurtaye namaha. Okay, you can just follow after me. Om Vishwam Darpana Dishyamana Nagari Tulyam Nijantargatam. Om ॐ विश्वन्दर्पणदृश्यमाननगरि तुल्यं निजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिर्वोद्भूतं यथा निद्रया पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिर्वोद्भूतं यथा निद्रया यः साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयम् यः साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयम् तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये बीजस्यान्तरिवाङ्कुरो जगदिदं प्राङ्निर्विकल्पं पुनः बीजस्यान्तरिवाङ्कुरो जगदिदं प्राङ्निर्विकल्पं पुनः मायाकल्पितदेशकालकलना वैचित्र्यचित्रीकृतम् मायाकल्पितदेशकालकलना वैचित्र्यचित्रीकृतम् मायावीव विजृम्भयत्यपि महायोगी वयस्वेच्छया मायावीव विजृम्भयत्यपि योगी वयस्वेच्छया तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये यस्यैव स्फुरणं सदात्मकम् असत्कल्पार्थगं भासते यस्यैव स्फुरणं असत्कल्पार्थकं भासते साक्षात् तत्त्वमसीति वेदवचसा यो बोधयत्याश्रितान् साक्षात् तत्त्वमसीति वेदवचसा यो बोधयत्याश्रितान् यत् साक्षात्करणात् भवेन्न पुनरावृत्तिर्भवाम्भोनिधौ यत् साक्षात्करणात् भवेन्न पुनरावृत्तिर्भवाम्भोनिधौ तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नानाच्छिद्रघटोदरस्थितमहादीपप्रभाभास्वरम् नानाच्छिद्रघटोदरस्थितमहादीपप्रभाभास्वरम् ज्ञानं यस्य तु चक्षुरादिकरणद्वारा बहिस्पन्दते ज्ञानं यस्य तु चक्षुरादिकरणद्वारा बहिस्पन्दते जानामीति तमेव भान्तमनुभात्येतत्समस्तं जगत् जानामीति तमेव भान्तमनुभात्येतत्समस्तं जगत् तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये देहं प्राणमपीन्द्रियानपि चलां बुद्धिं च शून्यं विदुः देहं प्राणमपीन्द्रियानपि चलां बुद्धिं च शून्यं विदुः स्त्रीबालान्धजडोपमास्त्वहमिति भ्रान्ताभृशं वादिनः स्त्रीबालान्धजडोपमास्त्वहमिति भ्रान्ताभृशं वादिनः मायाशक्तिविलासकल्पितमहाव्यामोहसंहारिणे Maya Shakti Vilasakal Mahavyamoha Samharine Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namaidam Shri Dakshinamurtaye Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namaidam Shri Dakshinamurtaye. So we had just finished verse number 18 of the first verse, the Manasa Ullasa, verse number 18, when we met 2 weeks ago, which is on the English book on page 9. And in the Hindi book, it's on number 26, page number 26. So one thing I think I wrote to you about, and which is a good habit, I urge you to follow that habit if you can, is to review the previous class's lesson in your own mind, and if you have taken some notes for yourself, then review it so that you are already situated with respect to the next one. I think that's a good habit. I should have mentioned that a long time ago. Here, one extra request that I have, that you should review those questions prior to the verse number 1. My book is falling apart. I do have a new book, but I haven't started doing it because I've underlined many of these things, so I'm still using the old one. But if you recall, there were these 6 questions. Where were they? Number 6, I think it was. Number 11, 10, yeah. It's just before that. Oh, I can't remember. Is it out of sequence or what? I can't remember. Anyway, remember there was these questions where the student had asked, they were, I think, in 3 or 4 verses, and how is this possible, and what is the meaning of it, and so on. So in addition to reviewing the lessons in general, I think it'll be very useful for you to review those questions in your own mind and have a firm grasp on that, so that when the answers are coming, they are related to those questions. And so you'll have a good way to correlate the answers to the question. So in the verse number 17 and 18, several things were pointed out. I think that this is really an important thing to see, and it took me a long time to really understand this. But after I did, my understanding of the overall sense of my life and so on has improved a lot. And that is that Ishvara and Jiva are a lot similar than you think you are aware of. They are really 2 parts of the same thing. They just have a couple of small roles that distinguish them from each other. But they're a lot similar in it, the way they come about, and in terms of their content, they're the same. They're the same. So, this is the thing, we have always talked about this, that in an ocean, the content of the ocean is the water, and the content of the wave is also water. So we've heard those words. But somehow they lose their power and meaning until you start to inquire about it as to how this is the case. So words really don't really convey until you grasp the meaning of it. And this is an important thing to keep in mind and to go over it over and over again. And the verses that we are doing actually do a good job of pointing that out. How? In number 17 and 18, it pointed out, if you recall, just a quick revision before we go forward, that supposing you are having a dream. In the dream, which is an extended dream that happens many times during the night, where you have one episode and then you have another episode of the dream which is similar to the one before, connected to the one before. And so in that kind of an extended, connected dream, the author points out it is very possible that you yourself was dreaming as a king that has conquered a lot of lot of territory, and you've become very powerful, and you're very happy, and you're sitting on top of the world, so to speak. And then another episode in the dream, you lose all that power, and your enemy actually overpowers you, and you've lost the kingdom. And you are now been put into jail with your hands tied behind your back. And there's, so it's very possible that you can have a dream where you are miserable. On one dream you are all powerful, and another dream you are miserable. So there it is pointed out that very similar to is the case where the Ishvara is the all-powerful version of a dreamt person. And the jiva is the aggrieved version of the dream. Same dream, extended dream. It has some connectivity, of course, just like in the example dream. But the Ishvara, and so the thing is that when you are dreaming, you play both the parts. That's the important thing to see. You're not the king who was on top of the world is not played by a different person than the person who is aggrieved. It is the same person plays both of them. Similarly, here also Ishvara plays the role of the Ishvara, and Ishvara plays the role of the Jiva. Or you can say Brahman plays the role of Ishvara, and Brahman plays the role of Jiva. Same person, same dream, two aspects of it. And then, and this will be explained a little bit more today in verse number 19, but the verse number 18 ended with one thing, if you recall. We can read the Sanskrit for it also. Yatha swapne, numbers 16 and 17 and 18. Yatha swapne nripaha bhutva bhuktva bhogan yatha ipsitan chaturanga lopet chaturanga balopetah shatrum jitva rathangane. Having conquered all the shatrus, etc., then parat parajitah bhutva vanam prapya tapah charan muhurtamatram atmanam manyate kalpa jivinam. So this is the dream. Then in number 18, tatha eva jagrat kalepi manorajyam karoti asau kalana dyotya yogena kshinam ayuna pashyati. So the first one was an example, and the verse number 18 is the exemplified. So he says, just like it even in the Jagrat Kala, you have the same issue. Sometimes you're riding high, and sometimes you are not. And then it's a very interesting, the last line, he just threw that in. Kalanadyoya yogena. Kalanadyoga. Kalanadyoga. Kalanadyoga yogena. Kshinam ayuna pashyati. So this last thing is interesting. So he says the reason you do not see the similarity of the two things. Which two things? One is the dream and the other is the Jagrat Kala. The reason you don't see them as being different is because you don't see the velocity of the time in the Jagrat Kala. The velocities are just different. That is the only difference. In the Swapna, the velocity of time is enormous, very fast. And in Jagrat Avastha, it is there, but you do not grasp it. How don't we grasp it? Because we keep thinking that this life is not going to change that quickly. I'm okay for a while. I'm all right. It's the same person. My family is still there. My skin remains the same. It is only when you see each other after a long time you realize, oh my goodness. That happens all of a sudden, the big change. It is going fast. But you don't see the fastness of the time. That prevents you from seeing that this is like a dream which is going very quickly. And so the advice given is, so what do I do with this? Why are you pointing that out? What we should point out is, be aware of the fact that this is moving very fast and it's going to be gone pretty soon. And therefore, it is just like a dream. But you as a dreamer is not the dream. You're not the participant of the dream. You will survive it. But you don't realize that you will survive it. You think that I am just going to be... you continue to hold a certain degree of reality as though you are one of the dream characters. And a very slow-moving dream. So, and this is an important thing which is pointed out over and over again, that really for all intents and purposes, so the similarity between a dream and the Jagrat Avastha is enormous. There are small differences. And one of the differences is that the time appears to pass very slowly. So that gives it a degree of reality that fools you. And so please don't be fooled by it. Just stay apart from it. See your body deteriorating. See the things changing very fast. See how the whole world is just passing. Whole time is passing. And stay with yourself, the unchanging. Don't become part of the changing itself. And so this kind of distinction is made between Jagrat Avastha. But in saying this distinction, it points out that you and Ishvara are not that different. You and Ishvara are really two dreamt things. Both of them don't have a reality. Ishvara's reality is also Brahman, your reality is also Brahman. And one is very powerful and not really affected by the dream, and the other one is powerless and is very affected by the dream. So this point is going to be brought up in more detail in a minute, we will see. But this is the idea that is being pointed out. And the idea, again in summary, is that please see that you are nothing but an aspect of the Ishvara. You're not fundamentally different. And so this is the thing that is pointed out in 16, 17, and 18. And so in 19, let's do 19, 20, and perhaps 21, 22 also. So let's do the 19 first. Megachanna amshumali iva, Megachanna amshumali iva, Mayaya mohitah adhikam, Mayaya mohitah adhikam, Kinchit karta cha kinchit gyaha, Kinchit karta cha kinchit gyaha, Lakshyate parameshwaraha. Okay, let us analyze this important verse. So number 19, let's took the English translation of that. And it's a good translation. So in fact, let us look at the not the translation of the verse itself, but the commentary on it, just in a single 2 lines. On page 10, Ishvara is himself called Jiva when subject to the control of Maya. There is no independent entity called Jiva. Good translation. That is the key point that is being pointed out. And so we should think about it and get this idea out of our minds. Perhaps might take some time. That I am a separate person from this creation. This is just a feeling on my part. This is not the truth about it. Just like, for example, the classical example is that if you think there is a snake there, that's just your feeling. It is not the truth. And the more you inquire into it, the feeling disappears. If you don't inquire into it, then the feeling stays. But please be aware of the fact that this is just a feeling. So in Sanskrit it is called pratiti. Pratiti matra. Pratiti matra means it just appears like that. It's just an appearance. It's not a truth. Because the distinction between an appearance and truth is that the truth may appear to be an appearance if not inquired into. And the more you inquire into it, the truth becomes very visible to you. And the appearance is one which is only there if you don't inquire into it. But if you inquire into it, it disappears. That's the distinction. So, my conclusion that I am a separate individual, having my own history and my own future and my own identity, with all the things that go along with it, fear, worry, and a sense of isolation, likes and dislikes, all those kinds of things are stemming from a pratiti that I am a separate individual. And the fact of the matter is you are not. You are not a separate individual. You are just an expression of Ishvara. You are connected to all the laws of Ishvara. And in fact, your identity is fundamentally the same as Ishvara. We have to say fundamentally, because at least even with the prarabdha karma, it is very possible that you may continue to suffer a little bit with problems with aging and so on and so forth. So on the surface, you may have some differences. Fundamentally, there is no difference, which is Satchidananda. But so here it's interesting that both in terms of the laws governing my life, laws containing all the anatma aspects of myself, people I deal with, situations I find to be, that I am faced with, and so on. Those laws are also connected to Ishvara. You are, in fact, at a point which is not surprising given exactly where you're coming from. Everything is precisely defined in terms of your mother and your father and your work in the past. All of that brings you up to this point. So in that sense, you and Ishvara are highly connected with each other, because you did some work and Ishvara gave you the results of that work. And the results are exactly what you and I are today. Not any different. And so it's a partnership between the karma and the karma phaladata. And please be aware of the fact that you cannot fundamentally become isolated from you. There is no such thing as just like saying the wave is going to be fundamentally separated from the ocean. It is not possible. And so there is a deep sense of partnership between you and Ishvara. And not only that partnership because of the laws governing you, but the fundamental aspect of you is nothing but Ishvara. This will be pointed out in the next verse. So keep this in mind. This is what is being pointed out here. Good English translation. That Ishvara himself is called Jiva when subject to the control of Maya. There is no independent entity called Jiva. And in Maheshananji in English, in his Hindi commentary also says the same thing on page 27. ईश्वर ही माया के वश होकर जीव भाव को प्राप्त होता है. जीव नामक कोई स्वतंत्र पदार्थ नहीं है जिस इसका प्रतिपादन करते हैं. It is not a separate entity. This is being taught in this verse. So it is not something that you should just simply say, well, you said that and I'll have to think about it. I'm not sure that it makes sense, but I'll think about it. It's kind of like, I provisionally accept it. Since I'm listening to you and I have some shraddha and so on, I provisionally accept it, but I'm not sure about this. So the value of teaching is to convince you that this in fact is the case. It is not something to be simply said and moved on. It has to be explained. And that explanation is what this verse is all about. So there it says, Megachannaha Amshumali iva Parameshwaraha Mayaya Adhikam Mohitaha Kinchit karta cha kinchit gyaha lakshyate. So let's just look at the word meanings first. There is no word meanings given in the English one, so we'll have to just say Megachannaha. So means one which is hidden by the clouds. So it is all about Amshumali. Amshumali means the sun. The sun. And here, sometimes in Sanskritam, the sun is defined as Amshuman. Amshuman means the owner of the rays of the sun. From where all the rays come is called Amshuman. So sometimes Van or Man, so like Bhagavan. So there are some rules in Sanskritam where either Makara is used or Vakara is used. So but the sense is the same. Amshuman means Amshuhu asya asti iti amshuman. That the rays belong to him is called amshuman. Here it is amshumali. So amshumali means it is the same. There is really very little difference between amshuman and amshumali. It means the sequence of rays come from whom? A sequence of rays. So here, if you look at Einstein's book on how he describes the nature of light, it's a very beautiful explanation and a very deep explanation and so on. It's a very remarkable thing. See, now look at it. The rays of the sun, supposing you are looking at the sunlight directly, you find a lot of rays are emanating from the sun, and they are, even now, for example, they're hitting some of those buildings directly. And when the sun goes down, the rays get collapsed into it. So look at this. The rays are separated from the sun, but never really separated, because if they were really separated, what will happen is when the sun is going down, the rays might be left behind. That doesn't happen. So so what it is said is that the sun, which is thousands of miles away, has the ability to express its presence in distances far away from itself. And yet the distances collapse as soon as the sun decides, okay, I'm not going to be there. So this is called the Amshumali. So let's just look at the word meanings first, and then I will explain the whole thing. So he says, just like Amshumali, the sun, is hidden by the clouds, Megha Channaha. Similarly, Parameshwara, hidden by Maya. Parameshwaraha Mayaya Adhikam. Adhikam here means, so English translation, let's see the English translation. The supreme, like the sun veiled by the cloud. Let's just look at the English sentence first. Like the sun veiled by the cloud, Parameshwara, the Supreme Lord Himself, quite deluded by Maya, not sure about quite deluded by Maya, appears to be of limited power and limited knowledge. Yeah, it's okay. Quite deluded by Maya. So here's what it means. It means that when the sun is hidden by the clouds, you still have enough light to do some transactions, but it is not a powerful light. So what this means is that the light, which is a general light, even now, for example, the sun is setting. Very soon, even the buildings are not going to be lighted up by the sun. But the light of the day, even though they are not brightly lit and not shown directly by the sun, that light of the day still belongs to the sun. There is no artificial. Inside the house, we have some artificial light, but if you just walk around outside for the next hour or so until 9 o'clock, you'll find that there is enough light, not as much as you would like at some time, but enough light to go by. But the key thing is that the light, whether it is direct or indirect, all belongs to the sun. All belongs to the sun. And in fact, it's interesting, when you have a cloud that hides the sun, you see the cloud hiding the sun by the light of the sun. This is really interesting. Even your decision that the sun is hidden is made possible by the light of the sun. Before, you cannot make that decision that yes, the sun is now hidden. The sun allows you enough light to point out that the sun is now being hidden. It's not an independent source. So what it means is that if you now look at the jiva, you and I, we have limited knowledge. We have limited knowledge about things. We know a few things. We know some very fundamental things. We don't know how the whole galaxy is rotating. There's so much detail about the vastness of the creation. And also, not only the vastness of the creation, the intricacies of the working within our own bodies. I mean, the scientists, all they're going to do is they can look at some particles and how they're moving, electrons, protons, etc. But the functioning of the body, the heart, the muscles, the blood, and then karma and karma phala, all the adrishta, drishta, there's so much detail. None of us know that. We don't need to know that. We don't need to know that. All we do is that you are there, I'm here, we are just, and then after this we'll get into a car, get some gas, go home, have something to maybe eat or drink, then go to sleep. That's enough. This is all that we know. So our knowledge is very little. Now the question is that little knowledge, and also so sarvajnata and kinchit karta. Kinchit karta. So kinchit gyaha and kinchit karta. Karta means our ability to do things also is highly limited. Highly limited. Ishvara can make earthquakes and the amount of rain and so on and so forth. We have no idea how to do all that. So our powers are highly limited. Ishvara's power is very unlimited. Our knowledge is very limited. Ishvara's our knowledge is very unlimited. So there are differences between them. But here's the thing. Your knowledge and your ability to do things comes from the knowledge and ability to do things from Ishvara. This is what I have to think about. How? Because even the ability to see things when the sunlight is not directly there comes from the sun alone. And in fact, really speaking, even the artificial lights like this in this room is all generated by the energy of the sun. Electricity is also nothing but an energy of the sun. The only source of energy and light is the sun. But you leave aside that part of it, if you just look at the evening time, you find that, and in fact it's interesting, as I said before, that supposing you have a completely cloudy day, or you have a very rain-bearing cloud, dark cloud which is covering the sun, that ability to see the cloud also comes from the sun. Sun alone is the source of all of the light. Similarly here also, your ability to know, your ability to do is also a reduced version of the ability of Ishvara alone. So that means that I am not different. I didn't create my own knowledge. I didn't create my own ability. All I have is a smaller version of the knowledge and ability of Ishvara. This is to be understood. So now I have no logic to say that there is no support to say that I am different. Nothing. I may appear to be different, but fundamentally, it's just like saying that really all the light comes from the sun alone, either directly or indirectly. This I have to, so it is not a question of just accepting it without any questioning or anything. I need to question it and to understand it. And so that is the thing that is talked about, is that really either the simple knowledge that the jiva has, samanya jnanam, what is called samanya jnanam, simple knowledge, just simply I know this. And this will explain a little bit more later on. But even simple knowledge of the jiva comes from Ishvara alone. There is in fact one source of knowledge which is from Brahman. And you can see this. The knowledge that I know is covering the entire creation. I know. In fact, the whole creation is not possible without the awareness that I know. This will also come in a little bit later on. I'm bringing it up forward. So I know is the fundamental nature of everything in this creation. Just see that. I know. You and I may be different in all other ways. You have your own history, I have my own history. You have your own form, I have my own form. We may all be different. But what is common between all of us is I know. You cannot even understand what I'm saying unless you say, I know what you're saying. And I cannot understand that you are listening to me unless I also say, yes, you are listening to me. You are sitting there. So the very common aspect of this is jnanam. I know, knowledge. See how the whole thing is covered by knowledge, by the awareness, by consciousness. It's all the same thing. All the same thing. And the consciousness and the awareness is not some property that I have. You see, that's the thing. Your specific knowledge about things may be different from each other. You may know some language that I don't. You may know some sciences that I don't. But covering all of that, the very nature of everything is awareness, knowledge, simple knowledge. Knowledge of this, that, or the other may be different, but it is all the same. So similarly here also, the light of the sun may reveal different things to different people. It may be a table knowledge, table light. When it falls on the table, it becomes table light. When it falls on a dark object, it becomes a dark black object. It's the same light appearing differently. Same light. Not the table light is not fundamentally different from the dark light. All the same light. So similarly here also, our knowledge may be different from each other. of what you may know some things, but the very aspect of covering everything, of being the very fundamental. So this is the thing. So the knowledge I know is not your property. It is your nature. This is your swarupa. This will come in a minute. It's going to talk about that. And so, let's see if there's anything else. So here he says, so, Megachannaha amshumali iva parameshwaraha mayaya adhikam mohitaha. So mohitaha, so here Swami Maheshananji explains the word moha. Mohita means one which is in English that is called deluded. It's okay a word as a deluded. But here the technical meaning of moha, mohita, is viveka abhava. You can, which is given in page number 29. Viveka abhava means that all you have, what you have not done is to be clear about the fact that it is the same light. Is the same light that lights up the entire world. India, United States, America, China, anywhere it's the same light. And there's only one Parameshwara. And the fundamental nature of the light of Parameshwara is, I know. Knowledge. Nothing is possible without I know. And the issue is that I do not put my attention to the fundamental aspect of the creation, which is I know. Aham janami. I don't look in that. I'm focused on things that I know. Our whole life, it consists of what do you know, what I don't know, did you know. But what is known is what occupies us, preoccupies us. But what doesn't know, what one doesn't know is that the awareness that I know is common between all of us. So that is the chit of Sat Chit Ananda. And if I don't know that very well, then it can be called Viveka Abhavaha or Moha. So this is what the verse is saying, that all that happens is that because of the Viveka Abhavaha, I become Kinchit Gyaha, Kinchit Karta. And then Swami Maheshananji explains the word lakshyate. This is the last word on this sentence, so I'll just say a couple of words about that. So lakshyate means it is indicated. It's the same thing as it can appear to be. Prateet hota hai in Hindi. Prateet hota hai means that it appears like that. So in his translation, Swami Maheshananji says that this is to say that there is no parinama. There's no parinama. So the word parinama, I think we have talked about this before, but I'll revise it for you. So a parinama means a transformation. Like the example of a parinama is a milk becoming a yogurt is a parinama. Because it cannot go back to the original form. Once you become, the milk becomes yogurt, it transforms itself into a different substance. And you cannot say, okay, I'll blink my eyes and now I can see milk. No. Once it has become like that. Whereas a rope becoming a snake is not a parinama. In fact, it never became a snake to begin with, even though it appears as a snake, but it never really transforms itself like a milk transforms to become a yogurt. It's not like that. And so you blink your eye and the snake can disappear. This is just a imagined snake. There was a news item just this morning I saw. I don't know if you saw that or not. There was a young woman in Nepal who was visiting her family. And she was 18 years old. And she was sleeping in the hut. And she got bitten by a poisonous snake. And they tried everything, but she died. So there's a real snakes are there, but an imagined snake. So in a situation like this, when people, supposing there is a death in the whole family and so on and so forth, and these places are full of snakes. There was a small hut. So you can see a snake when there isn't any. So in that situation, it is not a parinama. So similarly here also, the appearance of duality, meaning the appearance of my appearing to be isolated as an individual from the rest of the creation, is not a parinama. It is an appearance, and this Sanskrit word for that is called vivarta. So vivarta means that without giving out its original form, it takes on a new form. This is called vivarta. A parinama means that it gives up its original form and becomes something else. In Sanskrit, Swami Dayanandaji had explained this to us. The definition of a parinama is swaswarupa parityagena rupantara apattihi iti parinama. The swarupa, the original form, is given up and a new form is taken up. This is called parinama. Whereas swaswarupa aparityagena rupantara apattihi vivartaha. So the seeing of a snake in a rope, or in a different sense, when you find that in these desert areas where there is in fact some changes in the air, you find that the animals see that as water. And so, because of the heat on the sand, from a distance it appears as though there is water, and they run towards it. And when they run it, they find that it is not there. It's just an appearance. And in fact, this is a problem because many times the animals in the desert areas, they just drive themselves crazy by running because they are so thirsty. They look like it's water there. So the appearance without any substance is called vivarta. And so my conclusion about myself as an isolated individual is classified as a vivarta, not as a parinama. And if I take that approach, it doesn't look like it's vivarta, it looks like it's a parinama. But if I take that approach and follow it through with Shraddha, then it disappears. And so this is the word kinchit gyaha lakshyate. And then Swamiji explains this vastivik parinama ke liye hai, aisa kaha gaya hai. On the last number 6. Then he says, in verse number 20, the Jiva Bhava was explained. In number 19, Jiva Bhava was explained. In number 20, Parameshwara Bhava is explained. Two sides of the same coin. But let's just say, and I think we've already talked about this, so this won't take that long. So in number 20, which is actually wrongly mentioned as number 14 in the Hindi book. So anyway, yat yat karoti janati tasmin parameshwaraha raja vidwan swasamarthyat Ishvaraha ayam iti iryate. So in looking at the English translation of that, yat yat karoti janati tasmin parameshwaraha raja vidwan swasamarthyat ishvaraha ayam iti iryate. So whenever one does or knows a thing independently by one's own power, then that Parameshwara is said to be a king, a sage, a lord. So in the English commentary on that, very short commentary, it says, thus the question as to what is meant by Ishvara and Jiva has been answered. Atma becomes Ishvara and Jiva by Maya. He is said to be Jiva or Parameshwara under certain conditions, but not in himself. So he's just summarizing both aspects of it. So let's just look at this particular verse, and then we will go forward. So Parameshwaraha, he says the only difference between a Parameshwara and a Jiva is a Parameshwara does things because of his own power and his own knowledge. And so for example, he says that even in our life also, a powerful person is, in India at least, we would say, sometimes you'll find the poor people approaching a very rich person and they say, aap to Ishwari hai mere liye. What it means is, you are an Ishwara for me. Means you have the ability to do what I want. You have the independent ability to do that. Swami Dayanand used to say that. He says, with respect to an ant or a spider, which we do that every day, you are an Ishvara. You see a spider crawling across and you say, what should I do? Should I kill it or should I just take it out? It's your choice. You can do anything you want. This poor guy is waiting. What's he going to do? Is he going to kill me or is he going to do that? So with respect to the spider, you are the Ishvara. Why you are the Ishvara? Because you have the ability to do what you want to do. In our house we have a huge problem. This happened like 3 or 4 times, but just happened recently. What happens is that somewhere in the house, the flies are born inside the house. Has it ever happened to you?
Yes.
They have some kind of a small nest that they make. So what happens is that one day you'll find a fly. And flies don't normally come inside unless you keep the door open or something like this. So for a day or so there is some debate. Hey, who left the door open? I told you not to leave the door open to the garage or this, that, or the other. And now we have nobody else to blame, just my wife and I. So either I am the guilty one or she, so you know who's more powerful. She'll say, you must have left this on. So for a couple of days we have this back and forth, okay. And then we have to do what to do with the fly. Then you find there is a second fly. Then you find there is a third fly. Then now I have become, at first I was very confused. How can these flies come all of a sudden? I tell you, one time we must have had 20, 25 flies inside the house. Finally we figured out there is one fly somewhere sitting there in a corner, and they are mother and father, they are having a family.
Correct.
And they are all born inside the house. They don't come from outside. Huge problem.
They are very delicate, sir.
No, that's not true. These flies are the biggest flies you've ever seen in your life. They're all different kinds, I guess. Anyway, it just happened. And, more and more, I try not to kill as much as possible. So I have a mechanism now. So the mechanism is that I have to take a plastic glass, a plastic tumbler. I'll tell you why. Because there are glass windows. So I take a plastic cup, and then I take a very thin piece of paper, and I chase them by putting that right on the glass so that it doesn't break. That's why it is plastic. Then I slide the paper underneath, and then I ask my wife to open the door, and I leave them. And I tell you, I must have done this about 20 times in the last 3 or 4 days. Today, for the first time, the flies are no longer there. So I outlasted them. I think the mother and father, they said, forget it. But I must admit, I think maybe 1 or 2 I may have killed because I wrongly put it on it. The rest of them, they went outside. So I'm a Parameshwara with respect to the flies. I can do anything I want to. So really, Parameshwara is only defined to be one that has the ability to do what he wants to do. So with respect to the jiva. But really speaking, look at it, the fly is also a person, and I'm also a person. I'm a little bit more powerful than the fly. And I maybe last a little bit longer than the fly, but both of them are jivas. See, look at this. Both of us are jivas. And if you want to take another example, so you can say that supposing there is a dog in the home, and the dog is and I'm the Parameshwara for the dog. I can do anything I want to. But when there is a fire in the home, or there is an earthquake, or if there is some kind of a flood, both of us are vulnerable. I'm also vulnerable, the dog is also vulnerable. And so we are very similar in some cases. So here also it says that the Parameshwara is only a Parameshwara just because he can do anything he wants to. And you and I cannot. A very small difference, but both of us in that sense are jivas. Parameshwara is a mighty jiva and I'm a small jiva. And the reality of the mighty jiva is also Brahman, and the reality of the small jiva is also Brahman. Both of us really have Satchidananda. There's no difference between us. So there, in verse number 20, he's simply explaining Yat yat karoti janati tasmin parameshwaraha raja vidwan samarthyat ishwaraha ayam iryate. It is not a big thing. And I think, you know what, let's just quickly see. Well, we won't explain all of it, but just see the meaning of the word number 21. Let's just pronounce it and then see just the word meaning of it. Jnana kriye shiven aikyat. Jnana kriye shiven aikyat. Sankrante sarva jantushu. Sankrante sarva jantushu. Ishwaratvam cha jivanam. Siddham tat shakti sangamat. So what it's now concluding, let's look at the English translation of it. All jivas are endued, they have the ability with intelligence and activity. So Jnana Shakti and Kriya Shakti. Because they are one with Shiva. Shivena Aikyat. Because jivas are endued with the power of Ishvara, we may conclude that they are identical with Ishvara. Good translation. So the conclusion of this is that please see that our ability to know and to do comes from the fundamental aspect of Ishvara, which is to know and to do. And it's very interesting that as soon as a jiva is born, and a jiva doesn't have to be human being. It could be, you know what the definition of a jiva is? It's interesting, make a note of that. The definition of a jiva is pranadharane. Pranadharane is called jiva. Swami Tattvavidananda ji explained this in great detail. I remember one time in one of the talks. So pranadharana means that aspect of Ishvara who's imbued with prana. Prana means a life which is really just nothing but our sukshma sharira. Sukshma sharira. So even the table also is nothing but an aspect of Ishvara, but it doesn't have the sukshma sharira. So anyone that has a sukshma sharira is called a jiva. And it could be a fly, it could be an ant, it could be a dog, it could be a human being. And all of us have the same dual ability to know and to do. Our differences may be there. We may have an enhanced ability to know. And some of the animals have an enhanced ability to do things. And they're all different. The ability to smell is much more acute in some of the animals than in human beings. But the human beings are highly imbued with the ability to know ourselves, not just outside. And so there are differences in what we know and what our ability is, but all of us have the same ability to know and to do. Kriya Shakti and Jnana Shakti, and also Ichha Shakti, which is also part of those two. But fundamentally, those two powers are there. These two powers are not created by the jiva. They are given to us as soon as we become pranadharanam. As soon as we have the ability to, as soon as we become, and our methods of getting birth are all different. That could be born out of eggs, could be born out of the garbha of the mother. But as soon as we become manifest, those two abilities, which is to know and to do, are common to all of us. And they all come from Ishvara. Those two abilities, and that's what the next two verses are going to detail. That the ability to know and the ability to The knowledge, we have already talked about it. We already talked about it. The ability to do will be talked about later. The ability to know is the same as the light of the sun. It's the same light. And so, in these sequences of verses, what is being established is that the Jiva and Parameshvara are not fundamentally different. One is the Samashti, the other one is Vyashti. One borrows all of the ability from Ishvara himself. We don't create it on our own. And the sooner we understand it, the sooner we will begin to understand I am not an isolated being. I am part of this whole molecule. And ultimately, the content of the Jiva and the content of Ishvara is the same, Satchidananda. So these series of verses explain this thesis, not just accept it, but to understand it. So with that, we will end this class and we will take up verse number 21 and 22 and 23 in a bit more detail next time. So with that, Om Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityor Ma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha Harihi Om. Yeah.
So once we understand that we are part of Ishvara, then what? Is it just that understanding will take us away from ragas and dveshas, and is that the state we want to be? So what is next?
Yeah. So one thing I would say is that to say that we are part of Ishvara is not correct. So those words are not correct. We are not, so I would say, and the reason for that is that if those words, just on that aspect of it, before we go into the other aspect, if we say those words that we are a part of Ishvara, which by the way I'm saying it is because there are schools of thought that really believe in the part, his thing, and so on. This Brahma Kumaris is one example of that. They think that we are part of Ishvara and so on. We don't understand. We don't believe in that. The reason we are not a part, that a part is to be defined as one which is, so the whole is made up out of parts. That's how a part will be defined. Like a building has parts to it. That means that you start with a brick, then you add another brick to it. That's also a part of the house and so on. This is not like that. So then what it is that we are an aspect of Ishvara. So that, having said that, so now the thing is that the sense of isolation is once the idea of isolation is debunked, okay, then through the thought, my understanding of who I am becomes more like the reality rather than an assumed pratiti. So the assumed pratiti is that I look upon, it's not as though, so for example, Jivatma and Paramatma both have Atma as the basic I is the Atma. The issue is that the I is the Atma is not understood to be an independent entity. It is only understood along with the upadhis that I have, which is my thoughts, my aspirations, my regrets, etc., etc. And so, so the example that we give is that you don't understand that you are the same space. You think you are a room space. So the room is the upadhi which you have surrounded yourself with. And you and I have a good reason to believe that, because that's what our experience is. The fact of the matter is that is not true. Because if you do the viveka between room space and space, you find that the roomness disappears. The spaceness stays. That is the reality about me. So therefore, to answer your question, what happens is that all of my way of leading my life is tied to myself as being a jivatma. Well, in fact, my reality is that of Paramatma. Paramatma means here the total space. And the sooner I begin to accept that and to live it, you find that the problems of becoming a jivatma start to disappear. So it's not just simple likes and dislikes. The whole thing becomes completely, you're just like, one asking, what is the next step after I wake up? Do my likes and dislikes go away? Hey, the whole dream disappears. Forget about likes and dislikes. They also are part of the thing. The whole reality is seen as a completely different thing. Here it's slightly different in the sense that even after you become understand the reality, the prarabdha karma continues for a while. But we will discuss it. This is what is called badhita karma. Badhita karma means that it is already almost destroyed. It doesn't give you any problems after that. There's no reality to it. And then so to answer your question, if you keep on looking at yourself as the very content of yourself rather than who you think you are, then all of the likes and dislikes, the problems of life and so on start to diminish. Yeah, something like that. No, obviously it's a fundamental question. We will look into that in more detail as time goes on. Yeah.
Verse 19, where we said Ishvara is himself called Jiva when subject to the control of Maya.
Correct.
Now, I was struggling with this word Jiva here, but thanks you gave us the new definition of the Jiva.
Correct.
If we apply that, I'm not sure if the meaning stays the same. Now here, Ishvara himself called Jiva when under the control of Maya. And then we define Jiva as one with the Sukshma Sharira.
Correct.
With that, then when we say there is no independent entity called Jiva, does that not negate itself?
Let's see, how would it negate itself? So the thing is that, so if you keep going back to the example of the wave of the ocean, okay, so first of all, the becoming of jiva, this is an important topic and we'll look at it, we don't have time to get into it today, is the very nature of the whole creation, which is called swabhava. So it's not as though the Parameshwara said, wouldn't it be nice to do this? Because it has always been like this. Having said that, the example of the ocean and the wave should be kept in mind. So the wave can be seen to have, suppose the waviness of the ocean is due to Sukshma Sharira. So you have aspects of the water which there is no identity or no possibility of an identity. But supposing what causes the identity within the ocean is Sukshma Sharira, through which the waviness is born, from which a separate possibility of an identity is born. There it is said that yes, you can appear to be a separate thing for a while, you know,
But you are water.
but fundamentally you are not any different. So you are not any different, but you have the ability to think you are different. Yeah, that's all it is. This something got cleared in my mind only in the last 6 months or so, even less than that, I think, and I'll go over that sometime, which is the issue of how did this creation come about, or why did this creation come about? Why did Ishvara create this, and so on? And so, even though I've been, listening to our Swamis and so on, but finally something clicked, and I will explain that in really all the 3 classes. This is a very important aspect of it, and so I won't forget it. But you just have to be patient, and at the right time, I will bring that out so that you have an idea of the nature of creation and Ishvara's role. For example, even here one can question, why did Ishvara become the Jiva? How did he, and so on. So all of that is explained in this explanation. So we will go over that sometime.
Interesting, very interesting.
Yeah. It took me a while to grapple with it, and then again, I must credit Swami Maheshananji for clarifying it for me. And now it is a lot clearer in my mind. So we'll go over that.